Hey guys, what's happening? So we're back for the conclusion of Venom War, and after this, there's gonna be some changes made, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it in the comments. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back, this picks up in Grand Garden Arena, just after what we saw with Meridius getting the Necro Spear from Carnage to stop Eddie from killing all the zombiotes. But when this led to Carnage corrupting Eddie, it left Dylan with no other choice than to stop him. And when this happened, we knew there was going to be more to it than what it appeared to be on the surface, because Dylan is Codex, and his blade has the ability to separate symbiotes from the hive, and we find out what this means right away when the Venom symbiote says, "The King in Black is dead, stabbed in the back by his own son to save everything. The man Eddie Brock could still live. The blow missed his heart physically, at least, but some wounds can never be healed. The Codex blade severs symbiotes from the King in Black's hive. Eddie was a human symbiote, but cut off from his own hive, removed forever from his power. He is only human. The King in Black is dead." And as if this wasn't bad enough, it's also here where we get the arrival of Meridius, who descends upon them like a fallen angel, holding all blood. And when he gets there, he makes it very clear that he's come for the Venom symbiote because he needs what the symbiote has learned to produce the next generation of zombiotes and remake this world in his image. And to get that started, all he needs to do is stab Dylan with all blood, the Necro Spear, since Dylan is wearing the Venom symbiote right now. But right here, when Meridius tosses the Necro Spear at Dylan, we're told by the Venom symbiote in this moment it's like time slowed down. And right now, with it being the question of who's gonna save them, well, in the case of Toxin, they see him scream, but he can't save them. Flash isn't much of any help at the moment, since he's been corrupted by the Carnage-infused zombiote. Then we got Bedlam, who's still a puddle at the moment, and there's really no telling in his case if the pain is making him stronger. And then you also have Eddie, who wants to stand up and take the hit for Dylan, but at this point he can't because he's lost too much blood. But then it's here where future Dylan steps in, letting off one of his 2 magic bullets, hitting Codex in the back. And when this happens, we're told by the Venom symbiote, Dylan screams, and in his mind I see flashes of the old man Dylan's memory. Every deal he did with every devil, past, present, and future, including us. He promised he'd make us a weapon. Gold erupts from our skin, coating us, changing us. It all takes less than a second. He's made us a weapon, alright. He only needs 1 golden bullet, and we're it. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this all gold Venom with the chains, it's looking pretty sick. Like, I wouldn't mind if Venom stayed like this for a good while. And so after taking on this new form, when the Necro Spear reaches Dylan, it just bounces off their chest. And as soon as it does, the next thing we see is them go after Meridius. And as they do, it's here we're told more about Eganrak, which is what future Dylan was calling the magic bullet. With Eganrak being Carnage spelled backwards, we're also told that it's effectively the Anti-Carnage. And at this point, with Meridius just being completely caught off guard, because he's just like, what is this? What are you doing? And Dylan just tells him it's called a choke slam, just before he dunks Meridius' head into the ground, only to then just lay into him. But when he does, it's here where Meridius reveals his face, and he tells Dylan, wait, stop. Dylan, look at me. I'm your father, even now. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, he is, technically, but the truth is your Eddie is back there bleeding out. And it just makes for a moment where both the Venom symbiote and Dylan hesitate. And I mean, on one hand, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, come on, man, you guys know who Meridius is. And so, as expected, Meridius takes advantage of this opportunity. And he even goes on to say, I can't believe you fell for that. Here's a father's mercy. I'm just going to kill you, son. End it cleanly. It's the rest of humanity that'll suffer. Venom World. That's what happens if you keep the symbiote, boy. Because you're a child. You think small. Venomverse, on the other hand. Every world a garden, every soil a cog in my great machines. Which right there just gives us another glimpse into the new endgame that Meridius 2.0 had in mind. And as soon as he knocks Dylan back, Eddie comes and grabs Meridius from behind. But keep in mind, Eddie, he's just human now. He's no longer the King in Black, he doesn't have a symbiote, and he doesn't even have the abilities of a human symbiote. So there's really no comparison in power here, and Meridius knows that. So he just forms his hands into a blade, and he runs it right through Eddie, while letting him know that Meridius, he's gonna get around to getting his revenge. But first, he wants Eddie to see the destruction of everything he loves. So right here, Meridius, he tosses Eddie over to the zombiotes, and he tells them to drag Eddie out, to show him their new world. But with Meridius doing all this talking, it's actually played out as the perfect distraction to allow Dylan to grab the Necro Spear and cover it with his Anti-Carnage just before driving it through Meridius's back, which is kind of turning into Dylan's signature move, you know, just stabbing Eddie's in the back. But this ends up doing it because it effectively kills Meridius, and it destroys the remaining zombiotes who are connected to him, causing all the zombiotes to melt into inert symbiote matter. And when this happens, for a brief moment we're shown Lee Price, the first zombiote, but he's always been different from the other zombiotes since they were made from a sample of Meridius himself, with Lee Price being more of a template for what they would become. So for the time being, we're kind of left to wonder what's going to happen to him later on. But now that the Venom War is over, Dylan tells the others the zombiotes are finished, but they dragged Dad out there and he's bleeding out. We need to find him and heal him. And right there, Flash is like, I'm way ahead of you. Cause now that he's got his anti-venom back, when they find Eddie, he can handle the healing part. And right after that, Dylan looks to future Dylan and he tells him, I guess I should thank you. But the old man tells him, thank me? For what? Don't you get it, kid? The big bad who made my future happen. The big domino that started the whole topple. I told you what you wanted to hear, kid. What you expected to hear. That Eddie Brock started it. It all started when I beat Meridius tonight. When I took Venom back. But now that won't happen. I fixed it. I can rest. I'm sorry, kid. But that bullet had your name on it. As the old man without a name disappears. And it's right here where the Venom symbiote starts to realize the terrifying truth, because when matter and antimatter meet, they annihilate themselves and anything around them. When Carnage meets the Anti-Carnage, they do the same. They destroy themselves and any symbiote connected to them. Alchemy in reverse. The gold turns black, not the sleek, slippery onyx of a healthy symbiote, but the black of a gangrenous wound. And it's right here where the Venom symbiote remembers that Dylan is part symbiote too. So it quickly forces Dylan out before the contagion's able to get to him. And it goes on to say, but Flash is here, Sleeper, and Toxin. Eddie's out there somewhere. They can help me. I know they can. If there's enough time. But there's never enough time. And it's really messed up because when the soldiers come in armed with K-chemical weapons, Dylan's yelling at Venom like, let me back in, we can fight them. But Venom already knows that's not an option. So it just looks to Dylan, says I love you, son, before leaping to the window to get away. Only to then have these soldiers go full auto, hitting the Venom symbiote just before it went through the window, which is the last that we see of the Venom symbiote for now. And the next thing we do is follow up with Eddie, who's made his way to Our Lady of Saints Church, which is the church where he initially bonded with the Venom symbiote. But this time around, he's met here by the Carnage symbiote, who's saying, Eddie, 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 of all the places to die in, you dragged yourself back here? Back to the classics, is it? Me too, Eddie. Me too. I'm not in the best of shape. I put too much of myself into that spear. Now it's gone. I can't survive on my own. But it was worth it. I felt it, Eddie. Your other, my parent. I felt it die. Which right there is just like, man, I don't know. I hope he lying. But after this, the Carnage symbiote goes on to say, and now it's your turn. You look how I feel, old friend. There are warm bodies outside to sustain me, briefly. But if I could just get a host, an experienced host. And I mean, it's right there where Eddie, he can tell where this is going. But the Carnage symbiote just goes on to say, Eddie, you're dying. I'm dying. What choice do we have? I'll even let you set the terms. Come on. What do you say? Can the two of us make a deal? And there it is, like, yep, we are on our way to seeing Eddie Brock become the new Carnage. And you know, it just makes me think of what we saw at the conclusion of Venom War Carnage, when the Carnage symbiote and Cletus Cassidy went their separate ways, where at the time, not only was the Carnage symbiote surprised that Cletus Cassidy could go on and live without him, but it also established this thing where it's like, okay, well, Cletus Cassidy, he's out there, and he's a regular human again, but he's back. And really, it just makes me wonder what the symbiote landscape's gonna look like going forward, because it seems like a lot of things are going back down to the street level, or at least as close to the street level as they've ever been, which for the most part I don't see as a bad thing. But after all this build up for the fight between Eddie, Brock, Venom, and Carnage to end like this, I do gotta say, this is not the ending I had in mind, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.